Good evening, friends. Pinutuni. Welcome to our online broadcast here from the London Mindfulness Meditation Center. As you know, we have been going live since the rains retreat began at the Vihara. Every day we share with you our worship, chanting, brief meditation, as well as short Dhamma reflection for your well-being, for your spiritual practice, spiritual development, and especially during rains retreat, it is important that we engage in religious observance to fulfill paramitas. So hence, devotees have been coming to the Vihara and sponsoring the Puja and making the offerings and participating with us in the Puja and allowing you to also participate from home or wherever you are. So today the puja is sponsored by Mr. Lakshman Vanigaratna and Mrs. Menaka Vanigaratna, along with children Dinusha and Sudesha. The key intention is to bless their family members with good health and happiness, and may all their righteous aspirations be fulfilled. We also take the opportunity to dedicate the worship, chanting to the beloved parents of Mr. Vanigaratna, Mr. Simon Vanigaratna and Aseline Vanigaratna. May they rejoice in this punya karma and make their sansaric life happy and peaceful wherever they are, and eventually may they attain the blissful state of Nibbana through the righteous aspirated path. We also take the opportunity to bless dear parents of Mrs. Vanigaratna. May they be blessed with good health throughout, may they be happy and peaceful, and most importantly, perhaps during this time of difficulty, may they stay blessed throughout with good health and happiness. And we also bless you all, participants, with good health and happiness. May you be well, happy and peaceful. So with such righteous intention, let us engage and begin our worship by observing 5 precepts. Please say Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa 3 times. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adinna veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kāmesu micchācārā veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musāvādā veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Suramēraya majjapamā daṭṭhānā veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Tisaranena saddhiṃ pañcasīlaṃ dhammam sādhukam surakhitam katva appamādena sampādetabbam. Let us worship the Buddha together. Take it on. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Itipiso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho vijjācarana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisa dhammasarathi sattha deva manussanang buddho bhagavati. Buddhaṃ jīvita pariyantaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Svakkhāto bhagavata dhammo sanditthiko akāliko ehi passiko opanayiko paccattaṃ veditabbo viññohiti. Supattammaṃ jīvita pariyantaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Supatipanno bhagavato sāvaka saṅgho ujjapatipanno bhagavato sāvaka saṅgho ñāyapatipanno bhagavato sāvaka saṅgho sāmīcipatipanno bhagavato sāvaka saṅgho yadidaṃ cattari purisa yugāni atta purisa puggala esa bhagavato sāvaka saṅgho āhuneyyo pāhuneyyo dakhineyyo anjali karaniyyo anuttaraṃ puññakkhataṃ lokassāti. Saṅghaṃ jīvita pariyantaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Kanasārappadittena dīpena tamadhaṃ tilokadīpaṃ sambuddhaṃ pujayāmi tamonudaṃ. Vannagandha gunopetaṃ etaṃ kusama santatiṃ pujayāmi munindassa siripada saroruhe. Pujemi buddhaṃ kusamena nena puññena metena ca hotu mokkhaṃ pupphaṃ milayāti yathāi dhamme kāyo tathāyāti vināsa bhāvaṃ. Adhivāsetu no bante pāniyaṃ parikappitaṃ anukampaṃ upādāya patiganhātu uttama. Adhivāsetu no bante gilāna paccayaṃ imaṃ anukampaṃ upādāya patiganhātu uttama. Adhivāsetu no bante vesajjaṃ parikappitaṃ anukampaṃ upādāya patiganhātu uttama. Adhivāsetu no bante sabbaṃ saddhāya pūjitaṃ anukampaṃ upādāya patiganhātu uttama. Vandāmi cetiyaṃ sabbaṃ sabbataani supatittitan saririka dhatu mahabodhing buddha rupang sakalang sada yassa mule nisennova sabbari vijayang aka patta sabbanyutang satta vandetang bodhipadapang ime ete mahabodhi lokanatena pujita aham pite namassami bodhiraja namattute kayena vaca cittena pamadena maya katang acayang kamame bante puripanya tathagata kayena vaca cittena pamadena maya katang acayang kamame dhamme sandittika akalika kayena vaca cittena pamadena maya katang acayang kamame sangha supatipanna anuttara ettavata ca amhehi sambhatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya ettavata ca amhehi sambhatang punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya ettavata ca amhehi sambhatang punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya idang me ñātīnaṃ hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo idang me ñātīnaṃ hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo idang me ñātīnaṃ hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo imina punya kammena mami bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya idam me punyang asavakkaya vahang hotu sabba dukkha pamuncatu sadhu. Today we will chant the Metta Sutta and Mahajayamangala Sutta. May the blessings of the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha embodied in the chantings be conducive for your well-being and happiness. May you all stay safe and be blessed with good health. And most importantly, may your loved ones also stay blessed with good health and happiness. We are also blessing our sponsors, Mr. and Mrs. Vanigaratna, and children Dinosha and Sudesha. May the family also be well, happy and peaceful. May their righteous aspirations be fulfilled. May all the righteous aspirations of the children also be fulfilled. And we also bless the parents of Mrs. Vanigaratna with good health and happiness. May they receive our blessings and be happy and enjoy good health and long life. And if you are dedicating the chanting to anyone, please do share our link so that they can listen to the chanting. And if you are familiar with the chanting, you can chant with us. If not, listen to the chanting with great attention and respect. Samanta cakkavalesu atra gacchantu devata saddhammang munirajassa sunantu sagga mokkhadan paritta savana kalu vayang bhadanta Paritta kalu ayang bhadanta Paritta Dhammasavana kalu ayang bhadanta Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Karaniya mattha kusalena yantang santang padang abhisamecca Sakko ujuca sujuca suvaco cassa mudu anatimani Santussa koca subharoca appakiccoca sallahuka butte Santindriyoca nipakoca appagabbo kulesu ananugiddo Naca khuddang samacare kinciyena vinyo pare upavadeyung Sukhino va kehemino hontu sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitatta Yeke cipana bhutatte tasava tavarava anavasesa Digava ye mahantava majjhima rassakanukathula Dittava yeva additta ye ca dure vasanti avidure Putava sambhavesi va sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitatta Naparo parang nekabbeta nati manyeta katta cinang kanche Vyarosana patiga sanya nanya manyassa dukkhamicchaya Mata yata niyang puttang ayusa eka putta manurakke Evampi sabba bhutesu manasang bhavaye aparimanang Mettanca sabba lokasming manasang bhavaye aparimanang Uddhang adhoca tiriyanca asambadhang averang asapattang Titthan charang nisenno va sayano va yavatassa vigatamiddo Etang sating aditthaya brahmametang viharang idamaho Ditthenca anupagamma silavadassanena sampanno Kamesu vinayagedang nahi jatu gabbaseyang punaretiti Etena sacca vajjena dukkhavupasamentu Etena sacca vajjena bhayavupasamentu Etena sacca vajjena rogavupasamentu Mahakaruniko nato hitaye sabba paninang Puretva parami sabba patta sambodhi muttamang Etena sacca vajjena hotu te jai mangalang Jayanta bodhiyamule sakyanang nandi vaddhano Evang tuihang jayotu jayassu jai mangalang Jayanta bodhiyamule sakyanang nandi vaddhano Evang tuihang jayotu jayassu jai mangalang Jayanta bodhiyamule sakyanang nandi vaddhano Evang tuihang jayotu jayassu jai mangalang Sakkatva buddharatanang osadang uttamang varang Hitang deva manassanang buddha tejena sottina nassantu paddava sabbe dukkha bupasamintu te sakkatva dhamma ratanang osadhang uttamang varang parilahu pasamanang dhamma tejena sottina nassantu paddava sabbe bhayavupasamintu te sakkatva sangharatanang osadhang uttamang varang ahuneyang pahuneyang sanghate jena sottina nassantu paddava sabbe rogavupasamintu te yang kinci ratanang loke vijjati vividha putu ratanang buddha samang natti tasma sotti bhavantu te yang kinci ratanang loke vijjati vividha putu ratanang dhamma samang natti tasma sotti bhavantu te yang kinci ratanang loke vijjati vividha putu ratanang sangha samang natti tasma sotti bhavantu te natti me saranang anyang buddho me saranang varang etena sacca vajjena otu te jaya mangalang natti me saranang anyang dhammo me saranang varang etena sacca vajjena hotu te jaya mangalang natti me saranang anyang sangho me saranang varang etena sacca vajjena hotu te jaya mangalang sabbitiyo vivajjantu sabbarogo vinassatu mate bhavatvantarayo sukhi digayuko bhave bhavatu sabba mangalang rakkantu sabba devata sabba buddhanubhavene sada sotti bhavantu te bhavatu sabba mangalang rakkantu sabba devata sabba dhammanubhavene sada sotti bhavantu te bhavatu sabba mangalang rakkantu sabba devata sabba sanghanubhavene sada sotti bhavantu te nakkatta yakka bhutanang papagga nivarana parittasanubhavene hantu te sangupaddave devo vassatu kalene sassa sampatti hetu ce pito bhavatu loko ce raja bhavatu dhammiko ආකාසට්ටා ච බුම්මට්ටා දේවානාගා මහිද්దికා පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිත්වා චිරං රක්ඛන්තු ලෝක සාසනං ආකාසට්ටා ච බුම්මට්ටා දේවානාගා මහිද්దికා පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිත්වා චිරං රක්ඛන්තු ධම්මදේශනං ආකාසට්ටා ච බුම්මට්ටා දේවානාගා මහිද්దికා පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිත්වා චිරං රක්ඛන්තු මං පරන්ති සාදු May you all be well, happy and peaceful. So if you have just joined us, we go live at 6:30 p.m. every day during this Friends Retreat here at the London Mindfulness Meditation Center, sharing with you our evening worship, religious observance, ParittaChanting, blessing you all with good health and happiness. And around this time we do meditation, Metta Bhavana, meditation on loving kindness, which is followed by a short reflection of the Dhamma, which is also a continued series of reflection So now, if you are needing to adjust yourself, please feel free to adjust yourself. And let us compose ourselves for meditation. So once you have adjusted yourself, be determined that you will not move. Your back straight, eyes gently closed. So take a few moments to observe your stillness. Your body is quite different than other times. You're moving a lot, but now you are still, calm, perhaps peaceful after worship. You can take a few moments to even scan your body from head to toe and just observe the structure without any judgment. That's the way you are sitting at this very moment, so be mindful of the present posture. Upright body, bent at the hips and knees since you're sitting down, and there are points of contact with your body or on which you are sitting. Be mindful of the still mind as well. Having set aside your duties, having committed yourself to this observance, you are at peace. You're not thinking of anything. Your mind is still. Usually, mind wanders a lot, just looking for things to engage with, or even worrying about matters, or doing a tick list. So free yourself and stay still for a while. Experience and enjoy the calmness. We are not restless, we are not bored. Restless, boredom are facts or nature that the mind is looking for things, and in return you become more restless because you don't feel satisfied or entertained. So let go of everything. Just enjoy the peace and calmness. Bring attention to your breath. And in that still body, the movement of the flow of breath takes place without your knowledge. So now, just watch that breath for a while as if you're watching, or you're a doorkeeper, observing those in and observing those go out. Just be mindful of the breath. Breathing in, breathing out. As you note individuals, every breath is different, but don't look for the breath pattern, but observe as it is happening. It can be long, it can be short. There can be reactions in the body, such as freshness or relaxation. Just observe those for a few moments. Breathing in, breathing out. So breathing helps you connect with mindfulness and the body and the mind. Breathing helps us stay in the present moment. So now think of metta, loving kindness. Simply put, it is a genuine, well-wishing thinking for yourself, for others that you associate. Simply being kind to yourself and others. Worries, anxiety, stress, frustration, irritation, they all arise within you. But through metta, we can let go of those and care for ourselves. Where there is loving kindness, there is no judgment. Where there is loving kindness, there is patience. Where there is loving kindness, there is no ill will. There is no jealousy. There is no dissatisfaction. There is no self-centered thinking, which results in expectations and conditions. So loving kindness is beyond condition and therefore unconditional. It's not a selfish thinking, nor is it a contractual thinking. You don't care for someone as part of a contract. You can't love someone 50%. So develop that universal feeling of kindness. Loving kindness results in non-judgmental thinking. So we learn how to accept everyone. It transcends everything: identities, gender, nationalities, religion, everything. Through that we transform our ways of thinking, ways of talking, even ways of listening, and ways of interacting. We tend to be that source of happiness. There can be challenging moments, and that could be perhaps the best time to test yourself in loving kindness. The sutta we chanted, Metta Sutta, talks about how a mother has unconditional love for her child or children, how a parent has unconditional love. Similarly, the ideal or the best practice is to have that unconditional way of thinking. So take these lines as just a guide. not a mantra, but a guide to develop and grow in metta. May I be well, happy and peaceful. May I be blessed with good health. May no harm come to me. May no problems come to me. May no difficulties come to me. May I always meet with success. May I also have the patience, courage and determination to meet and overcome difficulties in life. May I be free from pain and suffering. May I be free from frustration, irritation, or anxiety and worries. Now let's share similar thinking with our loved ones. Don't recall those who have passed away, but these could be a few that you could bring to your minds. Your parents, teachers, uncles, aunts, in-laws, husband, wife or partner, brothers, sisters, in-laws, cousins, nephews and nieces. And if you have children, grandchildren, sons-in-law, daughters-in-law, your closest friends, colleagues at work, or even your neighbors. So whoever comes to your mind, bear them in your thoughts. May they be well, happy and peaceful. May they be blessed with good health. May no harm come to them. May no problems come to them. May no difficulties come to them. May they always meet with success. May they also have the patience, courage and determination to meet and overcome difficulties in life. May they be free from pain and suffering. May all living beings be well, happy and peaceful. May all living beings be free from pain and suffering. May I be well, happy and peaceful. May I be free from pain and suffering. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So that is the end of our brief meditation, and let us take the next few minutes for a continued series of our short reflection. So if you have been following us, we have been reflecting on the first sermon of the Buddha, which was delivered or uttered by the Buddha on the full moon day of July after his enlightenment. So we thought that was ideal to begin our reflection for this Wednesday retreat, and then we will return to our selected stanzas from Dhammapada reflection, which we had begun 2 years ago, online broadcast in the last two retreats. So the Buddha started with addressing the five ascetics, so that is who the Buddha taught first, and straight away he actually taught, because they were already they had already renounced. They had already taken the homeless lifestyle. So he addresses them as Pabajita, or ordained, as well as the word bhikkhu. And because they had been practicing what the Buddha had also been practicing as an ascetic, so he tells them straight away, there are two things to avoid, two extremes to avoid. And this is something that we, even as people, humans, forget and sometimes engage with. We pursue happiness through sensual pleasures to an extreme context, and that is what the Buddha said to them. If you are to be close to enlightenment, learn how to avoid the two extremes, the pursuit of sensual pleasures or happiness through sensual pleasures, and the opposite by giving harm or torture or even like self-mortification. Both of no use, they are fruitless, and that will just make one's intelligence weak or deluded, and therefore will not pursue a path to enlightenment. And then he uses an example at other suttas, not in this one, but just for your understanding. He says the fine-tuning of life, or taking the balanced way or middle way, Majjhima Patipada, in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. And in one of the discourses he uses like a small instrument as an example. If you tighten the instrument string too tight, it might snap, and similarly if you loosen it too much, it might not give you any balance or even any noise. So therefore, to actually even enjoy or to be in the right path, always need to take the middle path. And being the fourth noble truth, we then looked into what the Buddha had explained in gradually the first noble truth, the second noble truth. So the first noble truth we shortly reflected with a couple of examples the Buddha put as human experienced ones. And so apart from perhaps the seventh and the eighth, the others seem to be quite indexical, and we don't experience that all the time. Say, for example, you don't become ill all the time, and when you are not ill, you forget that illness is a reason of suffering. But obviously when we are ill, we tend to understand that it is that human experience of suffering. And therefore it is quite interesting to see that the Buddha took this human experience to base his teachings. And when someone is experiencing, as even like Buddha took the medical model, you can see, so where there is illness or unhappiness or suffering, a doctor might even look at the cause of suffering. So the Buddha also looked at the cause of unhappiness, which is then craving. The seventh and eighth example looks like quite something we live day in, day out, which is what I referred to from one of the suttas called Sankhata Dukkha. So some suffering or unhappiness is conditioned or self-caused. Yampi chang nalabati tampi dukkang. There are expectations that we live by, starting from views, from our own understandings and our accepted norms, and when they are beyond that or anything happening beyond that expectation, we then tend to suffer. So yampi chang nalabati, anything that you expect and or anything that you wish for and not nalabati, you don't get, that is also suffering. So it is like a self-caused suffering, because that suffering is within yourself, not in the item or the person. So essentially again, grasping of those mental conditions or sticking to certain views or certain expectations, or even in this case we refer to the word panchakhanda or the five aggregates, is suffering. So the mental states arising through conditioned matters, and when we hold on to that, when we cling to that, that results in our own suffering. So we then look at the craving as suffering. So some type of thirst we have, which our craving really looks for some sensual pleasures, and also the existence of those pleasures or continuity perhaps, which is bhavatana, and also the non-existence or craving for non-existent. So we looked at like that, and then yesterday we referred to the Nibbana as the absence of greed, absence of hate and ignorance, and even anything where there is remainderless of that craving, or any moment where you can become unconditioned, asankata, or unborn, ajata, that moment, that experience is Nibbana, or that is the absence of greed or craving is what the Buddha refers as Nibbana. So he then says there is a way to this, and ayameva aryu attangiko maggo. So this noble path has 8 elements, or attang angika, so 8 paths. Now they are, we have to remember, not to be seen as step-by-step practice. You can't do first and then I'll do the second. It's not in that way. So just to give samma ditti is right view, samma sankappa, right intention or right thinking, samma vacha, right speech, samma kammanta, right action, samma ajiva, right livelihood, samma vayama, right effort, samma sati, right mindfulness, and samma samadhi, right concentration. So we aim to actually explain these few gradually. Today I'd like to focus on the first one, which is samma ditti. So samma ditti is the opposite of miccha ditti, which is having wrong views, and samma ditti is having right view or right understanding. And obviously we are aware what might make wrong understanding, or what might contribute to wrong understanding is quite clear. The misunderstandings or going beyond. So I would like to refer to one of the suttas that we have been referring every month, called Samma Ditti Sutta. And in the Samma Ditti Sutta, Venerable Sariputta explains Samma Ditti in a quite very interesting or very sort of insightful way. I'll just refer to the first 2, for example, to just help us understand for about 5 minutes what it means. So, like in the Kalama Sutta, the Venerable Sariputta also explains this. A noble disciple will understand what is skillful and what is unskillful. What is the root for the skillful actions, or root for the unskillful actions, skillful words, unskillful words, again skillful thinking and unskillful thinking. So those who are some Buddhists will be quite familiar with the word dasa kusala and dasa akusala. So if someone engages in harming someone, or stealing, or even sexual misconduct, which are the not accepted norms of a normal human life, which would be the first 3 precepts, and that is quite unskillful. Then again, speaking untruthful words, backbiting, or trying to break a relationship through scandalous matters or scandalous speech. Sometimes even engaging in rough or harsh, painful speech, because sometimes you say something but you might not realize that that person might feel hurtful. So harsh speech, and most of the time what we engage would be the gossip or fruitless speech. So the 4 types of speech to be avoided, which will also be covered in the next few days. So I won't go much in detail. And again, very miccha ditti is the last one of the. There are 3 mental or unskillful thinking, which is great anger and greed, or lavishly, covetously desiring something and wanting someone to be hurt, and then obviously wrong views. Wrong views would be termed as something that perhaps deludedly working on something and not realizing the reality of the truth. So anything that actually leads to this unskillful would be obviously the 3 unskillful roots, unwholesome roots, called lobha, dosa, moha. So if anyone actually engages in such that is unskillful, and you identify that then that is right view. If you identify that certain things are because of greed, certain things are because of hatred, certain things are because of ignorance, then it is definitely unskillful. So, for example, ill will is of grave hatred, covetousness will of greed, and wrong view is of delusion. So even the mental thinking, which might be quite often engaged by ourselves, so we have to learn how to think skillfully. So trying to avoid the rise of greed, trying to avoid the rise of hatred and the rise of ignorance would be sammaditthi, one way of looking at it. So another way of looking at it is just like taking an example of one, maybe like food. Just an example which was quite fascinating with last Sunday when I was giving a short reflection to a community, a group of listeners. Say, for example, when we develop some form of habit of eating, and even if you sort of like think, because in this case, even the consumption of food might lead someone to develop those three unskillful thinking. For example, you might crave for a certain type of food. You might boast, saying that, oh, that is not the type of food I eat. So someone might develop ego even from a simplest of food that one partakes. I don't shop there, or I don't eat that particular type of food. And with a simple food, you develop some form of perhaps self-centered thinking unskillfully. In sometimes it can be cultural foods, sometimes looking down at other person's type of food or the eating. So imagine how you trust a 5-star hotel food, but you might not trust some food. So any form of egoistic nature or personality developed from even a simplest of food, which is just normally the food that we chew and eat. That might also make within oneself the rising of greed, a rising of hatred, and a rising of ignorance. So just to give you a small understanding of how wrong views might be developed unconsciously within ourselves, in our behavior patterns, and even in terms of our skillful thinking. So Venerable Sariputta put it like that in the first. Those just like one or two examples in the first few of many examples. I think it is 16 ways of looking at sammaditthi. So today I just explained that if you are able to skillfully interact, skillfully think, and skillfully even speak, as well as take every moment mindfully, there can be the practice of sammaditthi within ourselves. So with that short food for thought, I will conclude today's reflection. Tomorrow we will look at another example of sammaditthi according to the Sammaditthi Sutta, which the Venerable Sariputta elaborated. So with that short reflection, we will come to a close of today's online broadcast. Thank you for patiently participating and observing in this religious practice. If you had just joined, we go live at 6:30 with our evening worship, chanting, meditation, and Dhamma reflection. And this is on the occasion of our rains retreat here at the London Mindfulness Meditation Center. This series will terminate with our Kathina robe offering ceremony on the 29th of October 2022. So today we take the opportunity, all merit accumulated to engaging in worship, observing precepts, worshipping the Buddha, listening to chanting and blessing everyone with good health and happiness, and taking some time to meditate and listen to short-term reflection. May all merit accumulated be conducive for the well-being of our sponsors and the family, so Mr. Lakshman and Mrs. Menaka Vanigaratna, and children Dinusha and Sudesha. May all family members be well, happy and peaceful. And we take the opportunity to bless dear parents of Mrs. Vanigaratna. May they be blessed with good health and long life. May they be happy and peaceful. Again, we also take the opportunity to share merit with beloved parents of Mr. Vanigaratna, Mr. Simon and Mrs. Aseline Vanigaratna. May they receive our merit, may they rejoice in this punya karma and make their sansaric life happy and peaceful, and eventually may they attain the blissful state of Nibbana through their righteous aspirated path. So with such intention, we say sadhu 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you for joining with us this evening. See you again tomorrow at 6:30. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Stay safe. Take care. Have a very good evening and good night. Bye-bye.